fear of failure and how to overcome it. Now, where does this fear come from? Understand that anything that you're starting new, maybe getting into a new relationship, maybe starting on a new project, maybe studying for something new, maybe really looking for something that you have never gone into that direction. It's natural to feel this fear. But if it keeps repeating in your life and if it stops you from taking that action, imagining the worst case scenarios and what can go wrong, then it is going to be really detrimental for your progress. Now, where does this fear come from? If you're someone who's exposed to some sort of a traumatic events, experiences as a child, if you have been bullied as a child, if you went through an experience where you were in front of people and you were to perform something, maybe giving a speech or a dance or a singing competition, something like that, and you just froze, you couldn't perform well and people laughed at you. Or maybe you went through a harsh critical parenting where your parents or maybe your teachers or elders around you, whatever you did, they never appreciated and they always told you that this is not enough and you can do better than this. Now you see, sometimes the parents are harsh and critical towards their children, not because they don't love them, but most often it happens that some parents feel that it will be good for the child or it will be beneficial for the child if they are critical. If they say that, oh, you got this trophy, this is not enough, you got to get bigger one. Oh, this is not what you should be doing, you should be doing that. Look at the neighbor or look at your cousin, how they're doing better than you. Now every time either it's your teacher or the elders in the family, if they tell you that there is something not right with you, especially when you come up with something which may be a small or a big achievement in your life, and if they don't appreciate it, possibly you will start feeling that you're a failure. And if these events repeat in your life again and again and again, it breaks your self-esteem. It starts reducing your self-worth and it takes away your self-love. You start criticizing yourself because that becomes your primary voice. Now, as you grow up as an adult, maybe, your parents are no more criticizing you or they are not around you. But what happens is that voice of your parents has now become your own voice. Now, nothing that you do, you're happy with. You're always comparing yourself with something or somebody else. Or you're always saying that, oh, this is not enough. No matter how many times you have got great results in your life, you have achieved so many things, but you're never going to be happy with them because you're never going to feel satisfied with those results. Because now, over a period of time, you've turned into a perfectionist. Fear of failure turns people into perfectionists. And when you are a perfectionist, what happens is you're not only probably worrying too much about you not performing well, or you are probably picking up on all small mistakes that you have done, or maybe you're never happy with yourself. You're never good enough in your own eyes. But that's not all. What you do is you also stop trusting other people. You stop delegating the work. And then what you do is you make a pile of work in front of you and you get so overwhelmed that you don't know where to start. And then you start making all the wrong decisions and the cycle of failure continues. So you are stuck in a vicious cycle where once you failed, you felt humiliated. That triggered next event, and that next event then created a chain of events in your space. And with this chain of events have created a neuro pathway in your brain that created a pattern of failure. Now, all of this you may be thinking that, oh yes, all of these are my problems, but I don't know how to overcome it. And the worst part is every time you try to do it also, it doesn't happen. Well, I have suffered from this fear, so I know how it feels. And that's the reason I'm going to share with you. First of all, you have to recognize that if you're not taking action, if you're procrastinating, or if you're not allowing yourself to be in that limelight, or if you're all the time looking at, oh, this is not for me, I shouldn't think so big, or I shouldn't take this risk, this is not for me, somebody's always better than you in your mind. Remember, that's not a reality. That is happening only because you are thinking you're not good enough. But that's not how the world looks at you, because you are an overachiever anyway. Maybe you have this fear of failure. Because of that fear, you have reached a certain stage of your life. Think about it. Look at your life properly. There are areas in your life you have definitely mastered. But even though you have mastered those areas in your life, you're still going to feel like an imposter. You're still going to feel like this is not you. And you are not really good. People don't know who you truly are. You start doubting yourself. The physical symptoms of fear of failure is feeling that knotted, in your stomach. Every time you put yourself out there is a knot that comes in. There's headache, there's distress, digestive distress, constipation, profuse sweating, and all the time feeling like you're sitting on a time bomb. Something will erupt. Emotionally, you start feeling confused. You don't know where to start, where to end, what to do. You're a workaholic. And sometimes you get into this whole zone of feeling so negative about everything. And you just start feeling that everything is falling apart. You start overthinking, and that overthinking follows with negative thinking. The negative thinking follows with anxiety, fear, distress, and self-doubt. And somewhere you go into the down spiral. And every time you go into the down spiral, have you observed yourself? The moment you go into the down spiral, you hit that rock bottom. And now there's a part of you which comes for your rescue and says, hey, you know what? Now you have to go up. And you continuously go into the cycle of up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like you're on the trampoline in your life. Does this resonate with you? Put in a chat box if you are on the trampoline. Like there is a little success that comes to you, then there is a failure, then there's a success, then there's a failure. And it's like a up and down constantly. And it somehow makes it so real for you that you feel, a part of you feels, really you hate this pattern, but a part of feels that, okay, that's all right. At least next time I'm going to get success. And you are kind of making it like, for your life has become like up and down cycle. And in that case, you don't really recognize that maybe it's an up and down cycle. But as much as time it is taking to go up, the double the time it's taking for you to go down and come back up. The amount of energy that you're wasting and the amount of time and most probably money you're wasting during these up and down cycles. Is this resonating with you? Type me in the chat box and tell me that you resonate with this. Type resonate and tell me that. Now, can you overcome this fear of failure? Of course you can. You don't have to stay with it. So then what you have to do? It's very simple. First thing, remember that you're not born with this fear. Somewhere on the way in your life, you have learned this fear. This is a learned behavior. And if it is a learned behavior, it can be unlearned. Remember that. Type in the chat box and say, it can be unlearned. And do a little celebration dances this time. Because you don't want to live with it forever. Your success have to be an inclined plane. It cannot be going up and down, up and down, up and down. You can always be on inclination and you can constantly work on yourself by getting rid of this fear. Now, the first thing that you need to do about this fear is identify where is this fear coming from. What's the root cause? Is there an event that has happened in your life? Have you experienced some sort of a trauma or bullying? Or was your parents critical? Or were you exposed to something in the school or in the college? Where did you feel that pressure from outside that made you feel that if you do not perform to the best, you are a failure? Remember, making mistakes is a part of growing up. No child has ever learned to walk without failing at it, isn't it? Everything that you have mastered in your life, you have failed at it sometime. It's a classic saying, every master is once a disaster. So that means failure is a part of our life. Now, if you hold on to the failure as a failure and take it personally and say, hey, you know what? I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I fail at things. Or if you detach from a failure and look at it like objectively and say, okay, I failed at this. Now, why did I fail at it? What are my lessons in this failure? What could I improve in this? Start looking at those events where you failed at. Remember, you're not a failure. You failed at something. There's a difference. If you attach failure to your identity, you're going to feel horrible about yourself. But if you're simply going to say, hey, you know what? I failed at that thing. When you detach yourself from that identity and you say that I failed at something, you can relook at it and start seeing that why did you fail? What was the gap? Was it an attitude gap, belief gap? Was it a skill set gap? Was it a knowledge gap? What do you need to learn more to pass at those things? Think about it. If you've learned driving or swimming or cooking, you didn't learn it in a day. It took you days to master that skill. Same thing, whichever place you want to go now and you want to really excel at it. Remember, failure is going to be part of it. So accepting that yes, I'm going to fail. Probably when you accept that you're going to fail, the pressure of not failing will not be there. So first is accepting it. That yes, whenever I start something new, I will fail. Even if it's a relationship, business or a job, it's okay. And it's okay to fail. Talking to yourself and asking yourself these questions will help you to go deeper in understanding how can you learn that skill, how can you start working on yourself to overcome that fear. Lack of self-love, lack of self-belief, lack of self-worth are major issues with people, those who have fear of failure. And remember this, that the moment you recognize that you have this fear, these three things just follow through. So then the next step that you need to do is, once you've started working on understanding this fear and where it is coming from, the next step is to expand yourself. How can you start loving yourself more every single day? How can you start working on your self-worth? How can you start working on believing in yourself more? When you become a lifelong learner, when you start investing in yourself, when you start looking at yourself, and when you look at yourself in a way that compassionately, empathetically, and lovingly, what do I need to do for this person so that this person can become big? When you become big, automatically you start experiencing things differently. Think about it. If you are in a 3rd standard and if you get a test paper for 7th standard, what's going to be your situation? You're going to feel terrible, right? You're going to feel blank. You're going to feel extremely fearful. But imagine that you are in 10th standard and you get a paper of 7th standard. It's going to be easy, isn't it? The obstacle itself is not a problem. How you look at that obstacle is a problem. So the moment you start expanding, the moment you start learning new skills, working on your self-beliefs, your love, your worth, all of this starts growing and improving, automatically the obstacle starts becoming smaller. And the moment the obstacle starts becoming smaller, you start feeling less and less fear. Do these things and let me know in the chat box which one is your favorite and which one is you're going to try and test first. What are you going to work on? Are you going to work on finding the root cause of your fear of failure? Or are you going to start working on your self-worth and self-love? And how are you? What are some of the ways that you would be working on? Also, I need a little help from you. I want you to tell me in the chat box, what are some of the topics that you would like me to cover in my next videos? I would be very happy to help you more and more to dive deeper into your psyche, to dive deeper into your emotions and your body. If this video helped you, do give me a like, share this video and subscribe to this channel. Signing off, Dr. Meghana Dikshit. Till the next time.